So, hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Balm to the Soul. And my name is Natasha Price, and today I have got two friends with me. So I've got Liz Cattermole from the Izhara Oil Retreat, and I've got Louise Munson from Envibe. So, hi ladies, thank you very much for joining us.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah,
thanks, Monica.
So, what I thought we'd do today, so the podcast is almost 2 years old, and when we started it, Liz and I did an episode about Reiki, but it was really short, and the sound is not brilliant on it. And because Reiki is so important to me, and I think it's such a brilliant place for people to start if they're looking to do or get trained up in energy therapies. I really wanted to do another episode. So Liz and Louise are both my students, past students. So it's really nice to have them back on and to talk about their experiences with Reiki. So what I was going to ask, ladies, is how you first came to hear about Reiki. Who wants to go first?
Well, I think for me, I've always had a draw to holistic health, and I can't remember exactly how I came about Reiki. I think probably it was meeting you, Cash. And I think probably we were talking, we connected, and we had that interest in common. And I think I was intrigued. So I then sort of went away and did some research and just felt a draw to sort of explore further. And I am so glad that I did. Amazing. Yeah. Changed my life. Reiki has definitely. So
well, we'll come back to that statement because lots of people say that. But what about you, Louise? How did you hear about Reiki?
So I'm trying to think of how we first connected. Was it the oracle cards or was it the past life regression?
No, I think I came to your house, didn't I? And didn't we I came to your house to do a card reading, but didn't you hear about me through a friend, Akila?
Yes. So Akila gave me your book.
Right.
So that's how I first, that, and obviously you talk a lot about Reiki in the book.
Yeah.
And that book was great because it was all about energy management, and it's something that, I've had to focus on a lot, being quite sensitive to energy and all the protection that we need to do, and sort of reinforcing that on a daily basis. That's all part of my sort of daily ritual. So I actually learned quite a lot from that book. But that was way before I first met you, because obviously, I was given that book maybe a couple of years, maybe 2-3 years ago. It was before COVID.
Yeah.
And then, so in terms of Reiki, I mean, I'd heard of it, and I'd seen, I was very familiar with a local place to me called the Upminster Sanctuary, who do lots of holistic treatments, and obviously Reiki is something that they offer there. And so I'd seen it, but never really been drawn to it, like as in having a treatment myself. And I think the first time I actually had Reiki was when you attuned me with Reiki 1, and it was from speaking to you, like from having like the oracle card reading and just hearing, and obviously having read the book and hearing about your experience of Reiki is where you first started with your whole kind of spiritual development. And that was something that really appealed to me, was developing myself and opening myself up to, because I knew obviously I had these kind of intuitive abilities, but I wanted to hone that more and just really open myself up to the world of energy.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what drew me to do the Reiki myself. More like as a personal development tool rather than as a way to help others. But obviously I have gone on to help others. So
oh, that's lovely to hear. It is, and we were going to go back to the statement with Liz, where it changes your life, and I do actually think it does change your life. And it expands your energy, and it does change your perspective on things, and it does help with development. And often people go off on a tangent doing their own thing, and And that's what it's all about, isn't it? But it is, I mean, lots of people say that Reiki changes your life, but actually it's true. It is absolutely true.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I found that, it brought a lot of stuff to the surface that needed clearing.
Yeah.
And at times, obviously, it was quite uncomfortable. And, I felt a bit unstable, I would say, in my energy.
Yeah.
But it was all stuff that was in my highest interest to get rid of,
Yeah.
So if you've got the bigger picture and take that kind of a view, it's all positive. And even though at the time maybe it wasn't that pleasant going through it, actually it needed to happen in order for me to progress and develop. So like in terms of that, it was very transformational for me. And I agree with Liz, like it does change your life for the better.
It's good to hear you say that, because I often say to people, energy management is not easy. It's not, or energy work on yourself or clearing your energy field. It's not easy. It is uncomfortable. It doesn't always feel good. It often feels unstable, a bit chaotic. What the hell is going on sort of scenario. But like you say, if you're looking for the best end result, it's worth the effort to do it. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
When I first started, the reason I first started, I had just had my third child, Tom, who's now 20, but we won't talk about that. I had terrible swollen ankles. So my mum said, why don't you go and see Rosie? And Rosie was a lady who had taught her Tai Chi, but also gave Reiki. Never heard the word before, didn't know anything about it, just wasn't in that world at all. And I remember I went along with Tom in his baby carry cot thing. And I don't think I relaxed once, because I was so busy. What's she doing? Where is she? That sort of. But I had a really, really weird experience, and it just made me really curious. And I wanted to know, where's this energy come from? What's it made? Why have I never heard about it before? And the experience I had was, I was really became aware that the room was full of spirit, like literally spirits that you see on the films, with the faces but no bodies, and it's like sort of almost looks like a sheet, that sort of the way that they're drawn. And they were whizzing around the room to the point that one came up and I actually physically flinched, because I felt like a bit close, sort of. But it didn't scare me. It just absolutely fascinated me. And I thought, I've got to learn more about what this is about. And for ages, nobody could really explain what that was all about. But I think it's a form of spirit. It is what we talk about, spirit. But it's when we're channeling that energy, we're channeling that wisdom, that knowledge. But in a way, they were showing it to me as in separate form. Does that make sense? And then I found this card, I found this image, which is now on my Facebook or my Instagram, by this artist called Brian Kirschesnick. Probably haven't pronounced that right, Kirschesnick. And that's exactly how I saw it.
Wow.
And I thought that was so interesting. It's almost like, and then it got me wondering, well, a medium's sort of connecting to those aspects, separate aspects.
Yeah.
Whereas when we channel Reiki, we're allowing all of this knowledge and this substance, if you like, if this universal energy that we call it, to move through us to the client.
And I think that's the important thing, is to acknowledge that it's not coming from you, it's coming through you.
Exactly. Yeah. It's nothing to do with us, really.
Yeah.
It has all the knowledge. It has the information we might get intuitively drawn to areas, but it's not us. It's not our knowledge. You don't need any knowledge to do it, do you?
No. And I think I found, as I've progressed, and I can't really remember when I even started, but it's quite a few years ago now. Must be maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I remember, time goes quick.
Maybe.
it was quite a long time ago. And I've worked with clients and had some incredible feedback from people, felt self. And I recently had a lady who, at the end of her treatment, I worked quite hard on her, not hard on her, but I was very drawn to working around her sacral solar plexus area, and she has Crohn's. So I very much worked around that area and was drawn to. And it was interesting because at the end, she said to me, "Oh, Liz, I loved it when you touched my hand and held my hand." And I said to her, I didn't do that. I didn't touch or hold your hand. And she was blown away by that. And I said to her, you probably know what that meant for you, or who that was, what came to you. And I saw her again recently, and she said to me, that's just like changed my life. It's just been an amazing thing that I felt that day. And I've had quite a lot of experiences like that. I love it so much. It's such a beautiful offering. And
and when you see that depiction, I mean, that experience changed my life, and when you see that depiction, it sort of makes sense what she felt. And often clients will say it feels like there were many pairs of hands on me, not just you moving around. So
I gave some Reiki to my aunt on I think it was Friday, and she said exactly the same thing, but it wasn't her hand, it was her knee. But she knew that I was by her head, so she knew it wasn't me. So as I was kind of giving her the treatment, she could feel like this. She says, I swear I felt a hand on my knee. And she felt like her palms were really hot, like there was almost like a burning sensation in her palm. So it is quite interesting, all the bodily kind of responses that you get and the feedback you get from people. Quite often my sister will say that it's like a light show, so it's a bit like the Northern Lights when she's got her eyes closed, and she just sees the most vivid colours when I give her Reiki. But not everyone sees colour, so everyone's experience is quite individual, which is I think that's fascinating.
It is very individual. I'm sorry, my puppy's going mad in the background. I do apologise. You're probably about to hear her go berserk. She's growling under the
it's really interesting. Going back to the sort of the healing aspect, and I met with a friend at the weekend, and she is a Reiki master, and her husband cut his finger really badly, and she sort of gave Reiki to him like really regularly. And when he went back to have his finger dressed, the nurse couldn't believe how it had healed. She was like, I've never seen anything heal like this before. What have you been doing? And of course, she said,
it's fabulous, isn't it? It's really good.
Very
good. Another experience I had, which I thought was very interesting, was I gave Reiki to a gentleman, a friend's husband, who'd had surgery on his back, and he lay on his stomach because he was having real problems with his back. But I could feel this ball of energy, and it was so hot and intense that you could trace your hands around it, right over the site of where he'd actually been cut, if you like, where he'd had that trauma. So that was incredibly interesting to feel that. And I mean, I don't know what it is, and I don't know why the energy feels like that, but obviously it was a process of healing. But you don't need to know, you just need to channel the Reiki, and so that they get relief, or like the body knits in such a better way when it's healing.
Yes.
I think also with Reiki, what's really useful is that it can be used to clear your energy, and I used it on my son. I think I told you about that time with my son, when he just said he felt really weird, and at the time he was probably 11, and he felt tingling in his body. This is before I gave him any Reiki, so he just sort of came up to me and said, "Oh, I feel really weird," and I feel like he just said that I feel like there's a spirit in me, which is really bizarre for him to just come out with something like that. So I sort of tuned in to his energy, and I thought, do you know what? I'm not even gonna go there. I'm just gonna blast him with Reiki and ask whatever it is to leave. And I did that, and he instantly felt better. I probably only did it for like maybe 7 minutes or so, and yeah, it hasn't happened since. But you know, but we do pick up on like other people's energy and stuff, and
Absolutely,
you know,
yeah.
like he's exposing himself. He goes to school, so he's probably like me and quite sensitive to energy, and I have that same issue where I absorb a lot of things. You know, then it makes sense that he's picked up pieces that maybe don't belong to him, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very useful tool to have in your toolkit, you know, for something like that. Because if I hadn't have been you know, if I didn't have that Reiki ability, if I hadn't have done my Reiki attunements and known what to do, like I don't know, maybe I would have panicked, maybe I would have been like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, isn't it lovely that you have got something that you can help him?
Yeah, yeah,
That's really
absolutely.
lovely. And I
Yeah.
love the fact that you can, you know, when you do it with your children, it becomes part and parcel of their life. It isn't strange. Like when my children were growing up, like I say, my youngest is 20 now, but he used, when he hurt himself, and my parents used to do it as well. So me and my mum went through the training together. So if he hurt himself, he'd like go to me or my mum or his granddad and say, will you give me a Reiki? And it was just part of his language, you know. And like my eldest daughter, she never wanted to train in it, but she'd say, Mum, my back hurts, will you give me a Reiki? So it was just that it's so lovely when it just becomes part of the norm. You know,
Yeah,
it's nothing strange for mum to give you a Reiki or for you to use the energy in that way. And
absolutely.
yeah. And of course, you can use it for animals and you can use it for plants. I remember my mum once, you know, the hyacinth bulbs that you get?
Yes.
Yeah. And this particular bulb had grown like that. It was just like, so it was flowering here and it should have been. And she Reiki'd it for a couple of weeks and it stood up straight. It eventually just stood up straight, which I just thought was fabulous.
Yeah.
And
I love it for clearing spaces as well and clearing crystals. It's quite useful.
Yes, you can do
Yeah.
that, definitely. Sorry, Liz, were you going to say something?
you can also do it for your food and your drink as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You're nourishing yourself internally with the Reiki, and yeah, it's just incredible.
So really, you can use it to clear the energy of anything, can't you? And of course yourself, so that we can do, you know, self-healings. And I've actually started using it just before I go into meditation, because I feel like I go in deeper and it's sort of clearer, if you like, if I've Reiki given myself a self-treatment first. The imagery, I get a lot of imagery, but it's a lot clearer. Sometimes if I've had a busy day, it's a bit like, you know, choppy. Well, that's the only way I can describe it when I go in. But if I give myself a Reiki, it's much calmer, much clearer.
Yeah, I find I use the essential oils as well. So if I've got a client, I will sort of tune in for a few moments. I'll self pick and sort of decide what I feel's right for them.
Yeah.
And I use those within my Reiki, and obviously the oils work on the vibrational energy as well. So certain oils are really good for certain chakras. So, and I just find, you know, I think the aroma of an essential oil as well will help someone settle, or I might
Relax. Yeah. Yeah.
And I had a little girl actually not so long ago. She has ADHD and her mum was just struggling with her so much. Anyway, she said, can I bring her? And I think she was around about, I think she was around about 7. And she came and she was all giggly and didn't really know what to expect. And so I just tried to explain in a really sort of easy way, and just got her to lay on the couch. And put some balance oil on the soles of her feet and put a lovely blanket over her so she was all snuggy. It was in the evening, and do you know what, with literally in 5 minutes she was fast asleep, and Mum was looking at me as if to say, like,
never happens.
what have you done to her? And she stayed asleep. I carried on giving her Reiki, and we had to wake her up because she had to go home. But Mum said she put her straight to bed and just put some really relaxing music on, and she said she fell back to sleep, and she went right through to the following morning and she had to wake her up at 7:30, and she said that just never happens.
Wow, isn't that lovely?
That's feedback that I often get, actually, that people always have a really good night's sleep after they've had a treatment.
Yeah, that's often the comment, isn't it? It's almost like they relax to a whole different level.
Yeah. And I've actually started incorporating, because a lot of what I've been doing, like with my business, is kind of meditation based, because that's the thing that's really transformed my life. And I'm quite passionate about sort of sharing that with people who are perhaps new to meditation. And I've started incorporating that into my Reiki treatments as well. So like when I've got them on the bed, I sort of get them to do like some deep breathing and just relax and let go. Because sometimes, myself included, when you're laying down and you're having a treatment like Reiki, which is obviously non-physical, like I don't touch them.
No.
It can be harder because you're relying on yourself to just relax and, you know, get into the headspace. But I find with the, you know, with a bit of guided kind of meditation alongside with the Reiki, they can really relax and let go. And I find it really complements the therapy.
I often get people to sort of do a protection of their bubble when we're in the session as well, and then sort of teaching them to ground, because that's what I find with a lot of clients is, one, they need to really practice their protection so they don't pick up additional energy, and two, a lot of people aren't grounded. I find that they're sort of not fully back into their body, especially after meditation, or if they do anything else, they don't come back properly. So it's good to use it like that. That was going to be one of my questions, actually. Do you use it in corporation with other things? But it's a lovely, it's an easy modality to incorporate other things. So I've been doing a bit of shamanic Reiki as well, so it's really just utilizing tools like rocks or crystals, or to take the energy from them that they don't want. So say you were working with your son, you would have allowed that energy that wasn't his to go to the rock, and then put the rock outside and allow it to just be taken by the earth. So it's like using other sort of tools. It's really, I suppose, what is the most familiar and what's the most comfortable with the client, I think.
I mean, I always use crystals. I don't know about you, Liz.
Yes, I do. Yes, I use my I've got a lovely big selenite wand, and quite often I'll sort of clear the aura, the energy with that. And sometimes, if it feels right and if they're comfortable with it, I'll lay it on them. So it's really helps clear those chakras. And I find, like, well, all of us, I'm sure, that most people are in their heads, they're not grounded. So initially I tend to do the breath work because that's my passion as well. I love the breath work, so I'll take them into some breath work and we'll do some grounding at the beginning, and I use the darker crystals for grounding, and maybe some bit of balance or one of the tree oils on their feet, just to try and bring them down.
Definitely.
That's really interesting about the oils, because I always diffuse, because I think they really complement any kind of, you know, treatment when you're trying to relax. And obviously they work on such an emotional level as well, so they're perfect for Reiki. But I normally just diffuse them, so they'll be kind of diffusing in the air around the client. But I've never thought of actually putting them on the actual, but the soles of the feet is a good place to put oils, I guess.
Really good. Anything that's, you know, grounding, like the balance blend, any of the tree oils are great, because when you think about the fact that the oil has come from the tree and you're then putting it onto us or your client, it's just, yeah, they can visualize that as well. You know, they can visualize the strength of a tree and the roots, and it's, yeah, it really, really helps someone.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah.
I might take that.
Take it, go for it.
Why not?
And I use I've got a big chunk of rose quartz, and I often use that, and that's probably the only crystal that I would place on someone. And I often use that around the heart, because I find most people have heart chakra issues. But that's got to be the most common one for me, from what I've found. You know, a lot of us are carrying, you know, heart walls and a lot of blockages around that area. So I often use that crystal.
I've actually had I've been working with a guy. He doesn't come quite so often now, but he's been coming to me for probably the last couple of years, and he had quite a lot of issues, trauma in the past, addictive behavior. And what's really interesting is that he'd gone through lots of other therapies trying to help himself, and medication, and just kept coming up against this brick wall all the time. And I found that we've introduced the Reiki. That was the first thing. And he was so nervous at first. And, you know, I could see him as soon as he came into the room, you know, his legs would fidget and he'd be really fidgety. And I then sort of introduced the oils as well. And as the sessions went on, he's gone through such a shift. It's incredible. And he came to me last week, and it's like a different person. And he said, you know, this is the one thing, the Reiki and the oils, that have helped me to shift. And
yeah, lovely.
When he falls off his sort of path a little bit, he knows to come back, and he knows, he associates the Reiki as sort of rebalancing him. And now he literally lays on the couch. There's no fidget, there's no coughing or movement. He just relaxes straight away. And it's just fills your heart up, really, because you see the change in people. And yeah, that's what I love about all of our work that we do. So
yeah, that you do see that shift, definitely. Yeah, I use quite a few crystals, but I tend to put them underneath the couch, you know, like sort of in a row. And often I sort of let people pick them as well. So when they come, so, you know, we're not going with the traditional colours or whatever. It's just they will be drawn to what they need, I think. But the tree oils as well, I love the tree oils, especially Siberian fir. For some reason, I'm really hooked on that. But I've started using it with Celtic Reiki, which is another form of, much more modern. It doesn't have the lineage that the Usui Reiki has, but I use it with that. It's about the Celts and their affinity with the trees and the vibration of the trees, and how that evolved into our alphabet, which is so fascinating. But Siberian fir, I know it's not used for this, but that does make, I think that gives me more visuals in meditation for whatever reason. But I don't think it's specifically used for meditation, is it?
no, I don't think it is. No, but it's interesting. But I think, again, it's like the crystals, you're drawn to that oil that is yours to work with, and it's very ancestral. Siberian fir.
Yeah, there must be something, there must be a reason that I'm particularly drawn to it, and it's particularly powerful, but I haven't got to what that is yet, but no doubt it will. No doubt it will come. So ladies, would you recommend to people becoming attuned to Reiki?
100%. Yes.
Yeah, my friend, she's a great example. So I have given her Reiki, but I wasn't the one that introduced her to Reiki. So she doesn't really live near me. She lives in kind of Hertfordshire way. And when I met her through work, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and when I first met her, she was quite cynical, didn't believe in energy, didn't believe in crystals, you know, thought it was all a load of, you know, mumbo jumbo. And obviously I came in with all these beliefs, and we had very similar interests in that we're both quite passionate about mental health, so we both joined the mental health committee at work. And so and we became quite good friends, even though we had kind of very opposing belief systems, if you like. And what was interesting was that, she obviously found that she needed help. She was, struggling with certain issues, and felt like there was something missing in her life. And she went to see a local Reiki practitioner who does meditation. She does lots of different things. And she, through that experience, through having Reiki, it just completely opened her up. And now she's basically very much aligned with like my beliefs, and we're very similar. And she was quite she's very academic, so she's very headstrong and very wants to see the evidence of things. But I think through having Reiki herself, and having these experiences where it does open you up to energy, and it can really change your life, even if you're not attuned to it yourself, like just having a treatment, And so she would just regularly go and see her Reiki practitioner, maybe once a month. And it really helped her, and to the point, she was on medication for her depression, and she even came off of her medication, which was, she was on it for years, so it was it was really transformational for her, and just opened her mind as well, as well as clearing her energy and making her feel better. It just, all those limitations she placed and all those beliefs, it helped kind of rewrite her subconscious almost. It was really interesting to watch her spiritual development through Reiki.
That's fabulous, isn't it? When I first started, I'm a bit of a logical person. I was science-based, so when I first started, I was always thinking, I'm not really sure about this. But the one thing that drew me back time and time again was that I felt like I'd had my batteries recharged. And I had 3 young children, and I was working, and that was a big plus for me. So I just kept going. I kept going. But I think if I hadn't have done that, maybe I'd be a real skeptic as well. But I think perhaps you just need to keep at it and think about how you feel, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I had a treatment yesterday because I was at the Happy Place festival I was telling you about in Chiswick, and it wasn't Reiki, but it was energy healing. It was under some other brand.
I think they all come from the same place, to be fair.
I do as well. And I had only like a 10-minute treatment, and just like you said, it really recharged my batteries to the point where, because obviously I had back surgery at the beginning of the year, and I'm still not back to where I was beforehand. I'm still sort of struggling a little bit with my fitness, where I had such a long time off to recover. I'm quite a slow walker now, whereas before I would always be really fast, and I had a backpack with me, so that was kind of weighing me down anyway. And my friend kept saying on the way there, because it was a bit of a walk from the station to the actual festival, maybe 20 minutes, and she kept saying, come on, you're so slow. And what was funny was that we had the treatment sort of towards the end of the day, and by the time we left, and you think like we'd been on our feet all day, it was I think 6 o'clock. We got there at about midday, so it was a long day. And lots of walking involved. And when we left, I was literally racing back to the station and leaving her in my wake, and I could just feel how much more energy I had, and I felt like I could have run 100-meter sprint.
Brilliant. Well, that always kept me going. Kept me going. Definitely, for some strange way. You just get your batteries recharged. But I think it's good for anything. I've had clients who've come to a session with a migraine coming on, and then it's not developed, and things like that. There's always been affirmations about whether you've got pain or whether you've got discomfort, or whether or energy levels. It just helps. It helps. And with healing, with burns, it's amazing. Anything like that. And it's just another tool, isn't it, that you can use. And it's gentle. you can't harm anybody with Reiki. That's just not a possibility. So,
And actually, when when you're sort of offering Reiki as well, you as a practitioner, you feel the benefits as well, don't you? It's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
Really.
and you don't feel drained. People often say, do you feel drained afterwards? Because I feel great, but but it's not us. Like we said before, it's we are the channel, if you like. Well, thank you, ladies. That's been really informative, and that's been brilliant for people to think about, having a Reiki, getting attuned to Reiki, just finding out more about it, really. So thank you so much for joining me on Balm to the Soul. And if you've enjoyed listening to us, as always, I will put the girls' details up below the episode, so you can contact them if you want to have treatments with them or get into meditation or all the other lovely things that they offer. So I will put that up under the episode. And if you've enjoyed listening to us, please like and share as well. And I will see you all again soon. Thank you, ladies. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Bye.